I'm Heather Smith and welcome to Cloud Stories, a podcast exploring the accounting and business apps community. Today I wanted to talk to you about what are your options when your tech stack is bursting at the seams. You're struggling to get visibility over what's happening, you're balancing multiple spreadsheets, and you're spending a lot of time consolidating data. You can get CPE for this and other episodes of the Cloud Stories podcast. Simply download the earmarked CPE app and answer a few questions correctly about this podcast, and they email you a certificate of CPE. So if you're trying to resolve your business data overwhelm, there are a number of options. Spring cleaning. You can spring clean all of your files and all of your data, merging duplicates, expunging old data, trimming down the data files, and hopefully that sort of gives you some extra life and longevity in your current setup. You could call in a professional. So you could engage a professional cloud integrator to review your current setup and get them to advise you on any efficiency opportunities. So what may have happened is you just need to change some settings. You may have some solutions that have overlapped, and due to new features that have been released, you may be able to get rid of some solutions because other solutions have the feature that you're using them for. So a cloud integrator who is aware of all the technology and all the features and functionalities can assist you in that way. And they also may be able to, they also should be able to assist you with the streamline and the movement of your data in your system. So the third option is looking at a muli-entity consolidation solution. So I work with the team at Fathom, and they have a multi-entity financial reporting tool which will help you compare and consolidate different organizations. Another app that does this, I believe, is Business Fitness. When you're pushing through your financials, that sort of final level financial reporting, you can consolidate there as well. A new solution on the market that you might not have heard of is translucent.io. It turns your existing single entity accounting system into a multi-entity accounting solution. You connect your existing accounting software, be it Xero or QuickBooks or Excel spreadsheets or anything like that. And Translucent consolidates all your data to create a single financial system of record. The Translucent apps provide workflows for your multi-entity needs, such as searching for transactions at group levels, creating consolidated reporting, managing intercompany transactions, live connecting your data to spreadsheets, and they have more apps being released every quarter. So while you may not have heard of Translucent before, it's likely that you've heard of Dext or Receipt Bank. So the founder and a good friend of mine, Michael Woods, who was the founder of Dext or Receipt Bank and then it changed to Dext, he is also the founder of translucent.io. So sort of connecting the dots there. And what he has done is he's built a tool that he would have liked to have used while he was running Receipt Bank. So I'm now working with Michael and the team at Translucent. But that's one to actually have a look at. Very interesting solution they have there. So a fourth option here is to migrate to an ERP solution like NetSuite. This is something you can potentially explore with a cloud integrator about, or speak with a NetSuite consultant. So as you start to move into this area, you really want to engage an experienced specialist who can give you an unbiased assessment of your options to help you know what's possible and suggest options to future-proof your business. Each option has a different price point, and it's important to understand the scoping, implementation, training, maintenance, and ongoing costs involved. Likewise, make an assessment of how many hours a solution will save you once implemented, and will it enable your business to scale. It's a different business scenario, but I ummed about a costly website rebuild and finally went ahead with it. And the day it launched, a new client contacted me through the website, and the single engagement paid for the entire website rebuild and more. So it's a case of sometimes you have to spend money to make money. As you may be aware, I was kindly hosted by Oracle NetSuite to attend the NetSuite SuiteWorld 2023 conference in Las Vegas during October 23. The conference was celebrating NetSuite's 25th anniversary, and it was my first foray into the NetSuite world. So what I'm going to do is drop in here 3 short interviews I conducted while attending the conference. You may realise that I've already released these interviews individually, but the benefits of releasing them together is that the final podcast will be over an hour in length, which means you can pop across the earmarked CPE and earn CPE for listening and answering a few short questions about the episode. So the first interview is with Scott Wiltshire, who's the Vice President and GM of Oracle NetSuite ANZ, and he discusses NetSuite's evolution as a cloud-based ERP solution and its wide-ranging functionalities, including financials, inventory management, and omni-channel commerce. He highlights NetSuite's unique cloud-native architecture and focuses on adopting leading practices for ERP implementation. It also covers the specific needs of Australia and New Zealand businesses, integration of AI in the NetSuite, and the company's approach to customer engagement and growth support. The second interview is with Don McLean, who is the CEO of PKF Digital. It covers the triggers that indicate a small business may need to consider an ERP solution, and explores the 20-year partnership with NetSuite and PKF Digital, and it shares a case study on a company that you may know, Thermomix, and the case study is how NetSuite improved Thermomix profits and efficiencies. The third interview is with Sarah Reiner, who's a Global Systems Manager at Grace Loves Lace. We discuss how Grace Loves Lace uses NetSuite for scaling their operations internationally, and it focuses on features like WMS, dashboards, and One World for inventory and order management, financials, and multi-currency operations. Sarah also shares her insights into making the most of NetSuite, emphasising the use of operational dashboards and engaging with the NetSuite user community. And in the show notes, I will include links to the groups on LinkedIn that Sarah has created, and I believe that she also organises meetups on the Gold Coast for NetSuite users and consultants. So I hope you enjoy all of these episodes, and I encourage you to stay up to date with the accounting apps technology world by signing up to the Accounting Apps newsletter available at heathersmithau.com.
Today I'm speaking with Scott Wiltshire, Vice President and General Manager of Oracle NetSuite Australia New Zealand. Founded in 1998, Oracle NetSuite is the world's first cloud company. For more than 25 years, NetSuite has helped businesses gain the visibility, control, and agility to build and grow a successful business. First focused on financials and ERP, they now provide an integrated system that also includes inventory management, HR, professional service automation, and omni-channel commerce, used by more than 37,000 customers in 219 countries and dependent territories. In this episode, we talk about the triggers that would lead you to move from an app stack centered around the smaller GLs like QBO or Xero to an ERP solution like NetSuite. It's interesting to note that NetSuite has Suite apps, which are a collection of third-party NetSuite integrations vetted and approved by Oracle NetSuite. At the SuiteWorld 2023 conference, there were hundreds of vendors representing apps from the Oracle NetSuite marketplace. Some that listeners may be familiar with include Expensify and Approval Max. As well as Suite apps, bespoke solutions can be built for NetSuite users. My understanding is that sometimes users opt to use a third-party application rather than a similar module available within NetSuite due to its functionality, flexibility, or pricing. So essentially, you could have an ERP-level app stack. I was kindly hosted by Oracle NetSuite to attend their largest annual gathering of the NetSuite community at their flagship conference, SuiteWorld 2023 in Las Vegas. Welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you here.
My pleasure.
Can you share with us
who you are,
Sure.
where you're from, and what do you do?
Okay, yes, absolutely. My name's Scott Wilshire. I'm the Vice President and General Manager for Australia and New Zealand for Oracle NetSuite. So I am lucky enough to lead the Australia and New Zealand operations for our NetSuite solution and NetSuite team. We take our NetSuite Cloud ERP to market. I'm from Sydney, Australia, Northern Beaches specifically, but currently sitting in Las Vegas at our global user conference, Sweet World.
Which is very sweet, isn't it?
Everything's sweet. Everything's sweet around NetSuite. It's amazing.
Yes, where the theme is, I think, sweet up, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So let me jump in with the sort of the hard questions initially.
Okay.
How does NetSuite stand out from other ERP solutions?
Right, okay.
Now that we've given away the sweetness of it.
It is, besides being much sweeter than our competition. So the unique thing about NetSuite is, hopefully you've seen a little bit about this. We saw our founder, Evan Goldberg, up on stage.
He was very impressive. Very impressive to be founder 25 years later. Still here with
exactly.
one of those blow-up car parky flippy doll things on the stage with him as well.
Oh, yes. The wacky inflatable arm flailing
you've
car sales
got to be a brave person
promotional
to get up on stage with
He
one
did a
of
great
those.
job there, didn't he? But yeah, I mean, he's part of our the biggest part of our story, I think, is, we were founded 25 years ago, and we were born in the cloud. So back then, we've always been one version of the system over the internet only. There's never been an on-premise. We've never had to re-platform because of, we've acquired all these cobbled together solutions, or they're on-premise and we've put them onto cloud. It was born in the cloud from day one. So their architecture, Evans was the CEO, but obviously the chief architect or the CTO from day one and still is today.
Oh,
right?
my goodness.
He's the visionary for the product.
Oh.
So to have that, there's another part of that uniqueness is having that very clear vision for where we wanted to take NetSuite from a architecture perspective, from a solution perspective, has been very steady, very single focused for all of these years. So we're extremely lucky to have that. That's very rare, and it's
rare.
absolutely unique to our competition. So what do we do better? Well, we're born in the cloud. We're all 37,000 customers are on the same version of the product. The product gets newer every year, not older. We provide or release 2 major upgrades every year, and we do something like 300 minor updates during the year as well. So, as my customers keep telling me, this is the last ERP they'll ever need. It grows with the customer. And our engagement, we've got a huge customer base. We've learned a lot about ERP in Australia and New Zealand, but obviously around the world as well. So our engagement style now is really helping people unlock the value of NetSuite, and you'll see we talk about suite up or unlock the suite. Again, plenty of suites there, but that's about just engaging with clients to help understand their business, how their business is evolving over time, because the businesses that signed up with us even last year, they're different businesses to what they were last year. But certainly if you've been with us for many years, your business is changing rapidly over that time. The marketplace is changing, the industries are changing, but not only that, NetSuite's changing too. It's getting better and better and newer. So we do a lot of work with our clients to provide them a dedicated account management team to ensure they're getting the most out of the system, and it's being tailored or utilised in the best possible way to provide the most value for their business.
No, it's very interesting. I know that bumping into people around here who are working for NetSuite, they tell me the culture, it has a wonderful culture. It sounds like that's sort of been born from 25 years ago as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've been at NetSuite for 10 years. The average tenure in some of our teams is just amazing. I'm by no means like an old timer, so to speak. I bump into, you've seen Evan's there for 25 years, but there's still a crew, 15 plus years. And I think that speaks to the culture of the business. When you can retain your staff, keep them happy, they're still turning up to these events, feeling super excited. I mean, it's just so energizing to come to a place like this and see the potential of NetSuite and see the ecosystem. Got a huge partner ecosystem, obviously a huge customer ecosystem. To see all this energy in and around NetSuite, it's a real shot in the arm. I love it. And I think that we all feel that. I don't know, when I go back to Australia, we're not lucky enough to have the entire operation on pause so they can come here to see that. There's plenty back in Australia, but we do regional events like this, which are very similar.
Okay.
Just a smaller version, obviously, but it gives the same sort of impact. I know I always sort of joke, you come to an event like this and it makes you a NetSuiter for life. And it really does. My management team's been around for multiple years, and they're all here thinking, wow, this is so cool. So we'll go back and take that energy to the market and share the messages, all the latest product releases, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So many of our listeners are sitting in this SME space and talking about they're sitting on app stacks, which was very much a negative or anti-app stack keynote this morning.
Yes.
It was very focused on the sort of single source of truth, being a single source of data truth. So what are the key triggers or indicators that they should be contemplating an ERP solution like NetSuite? So the accountants and the bookkeepers, they've got clients who are sitting in the SME space, probably the M space, the medium space. What are the triggers that they should be going, okay, we need to start talking NetSuite. Might not be me, but we just need to have an introduction with someone.
Yeah. So what are the triggers? So we work with a lot of companies that start to outgrow accounting, right? We really cater to the small, medium size, but all the way up to multi-billion-dollar companies as well. Like I said, NetSuite can grow with you, so we are, partner for life in that regard. But what are the triggers? So often, if you're an accountant, your finance team, you're starting to think of you might have more than one in your finance team. You're starting to think about your financial close processes and thinking, man, this is taking too long, making a lot longer than it should be. You're doing manual consolidations, things like that, and you're thinking, wouldn't it be nice for a system to take over this, get rid of all this manual processing? When you're struggling to get visibility into your business, like real-time visibility that you need to provide actionable insights to your team, so they can make more data-driven decisions. When those things, they're the triggers. So the people coming to us are saying, we've got too many systems. I need that single source of truth. Or my financial close process or my consolidations are taking too long. I can't give accurate reporting to the board. Yeah. Or I've just had to go back to the CEO for the third time and say, sorry, here's the actual numbers. Those last ones, ignore those. If you've ever had any of that experience, you should be talking to NetSuite, because we can help you. Right, this is the beauty of NetSuite. You can start very small. It is cloud, it is consumption based, so you can bite small, chew fast. You can take a little bit, scale up and scale down if you need to. And there's a much better way, and provide the CEO a dashboard so they can log in and get the real numbers.
I think it's really important for them to hear that you can actually start small. So if you are
absolutely small businesses,
seeing issues, then it's something that you need to start contemplating.
Absolutely, yep. Come and talk to the team. Reach out to us. www.netsuite.com. And yeah, just check it out and we can take you through a product demonstration or something like that to see if it's suitable for you now. And if it isn't, at least you'll know in the future if you start thinking about scaling your business.
Yeah.
Sooner the better. The sooner you're on NetSuite, the longer you're on NetSuite, the more value. And we know we've got the data that supports that. That's why we're changing some of our licensing to more flexible arrangements to bring more people on, because more people in your business using NetSuite, the more efficiencies you're going to gain, the more value you're going to see.
Look, and that's a really interesting. I think has that been an announcement? Like, I know they've talked about it. Is that a new thing?
That's a new
flexible licensing. So that's
right.
Really important that people are aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does that mean? That means that we also have financial users or general users that you pay a certain amount for, but we're going to look at cut down user licenses for warehouse workers or maybe support, that sort of thing. So again, it's just providing that flexible option so you can bring more of your team into using the system, interacting with the single sort of source of truth, or working from the same page.
So, Scott, what do you see as some of the trends impacting Australian or Australian-New Zealand the business landscape?
Sure. So there's a couple of things. Obviously the adoption of cloud technology is, first and foremost for us, but we're not really selling the cloud story too much these days. Most of that trend has kind of come and it's here to stay. I don't know whether Hopefully. It's a trend anymore, but our customer base typically all have a cloud-first policy, right, or a strategy around, let's use cloud-based technologies because we don't want to focus on IT and maintaining systems ourselves and the costs and the overheads and all of that. So that's absolutely there. Obviously, the biggest hot topic at the moment is AI. As you've seen from the keynote speeches and the product releases, we've got an amazing roadmap of something like 80 solutions built from that incorporating AI to help businesses achieve, do more with less effectively. So that's a trend that's not going away, but I'm sure the hype cycle will come down a bit. But as we release those functionality, it's going to have a huge impact for our customers, for NetSuite users, because, again, it's their core system of truth. So as you're interacting with the system, if it's starting to kind of key ahead and suggest actionable insights for you, just the sky's the limit in terms of, like, what does this mean? I mean, imagine keying in interacting with records in the system, and it's populating a lot of the content for you and suggesting things that you can really action in that same screen to maybe to upsell or cross-sell or, sell products at the right place, at the right time, products that are in stock or higher margin or something like that. So there's some really amazing announcements there, and that's in line with the themes that we're seeing. The one other theme that I'm noticing, I've personally noticed this over the 10 years that I've been in the business. 10 years ago, when we went to customers, or they're looking at evaluating NetSuite and they decided to go with us, you can customize NetSuite to a very large degree, and those, the two major releases still carry those customizations forward. So it's a fantastic opportunity for us. But 10 years ago, customers were really starting with a blank piece of paper and trying to design their own ERP, asking for very unique accounting processes because their business is unique. Thankfully, that trend is really shifting to more of adopting leading practices. So we're getting larger, far more sophisticated businesses than I've ever seen before, far more complex businesses than I've ever seen before come to us and say, we want to adopt leading practices. You've done this 37,000 times. You might know something. I've only done this once or twice, in my career. How about you tell us how this should work and how we should run, financial systems or processes for my type of business. And that trend's really good to see, really good to see.
Yeah, that is a great trend, because I know that you're just like, why have you created something new? We can just do what everyone else is doing. It will work. It will work.
Well, it just means every implementation is unique when we do that, and that means that the time, it blows out, the cost, the expense can blow out. But adopting leading practices, NetSuite is very unique to this. We know how to do this so much that we will give you a fixed price quote for your implementation. So if it runs over, we wear it.
Yeah.
That is absolutely unique in the industry, and we can do that because we, again, 37,000 times, we have that experience to say, we'll put our money where our mouth is. Here's how a business like yours should operate from its kind of financial processes. Sure, you can chop and change a little bit here and there, and we can account for that, no problem. And everyone does to a degree, but generally only a small degree these days, thankfully. But then, we can roll you out, and the sooner you're up and running, the sooner you're interacting and using the system, the sooner you're getting value and driving efficiencies, reducing cost. And that's what we're here to do. That's the game.
I imagine if you're implementing, sort of saying, okay, this is a streamlined implementation, this is typically the way we see it done, it actually makes it easier to hire people who've worked in another NetSuite solution, because they're working on a similar workflow. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've seen the ecosystem here. We've got a huge amount, very healthy partner network. And the user group, the user community, administrators and things like that, consultants around NetSuite's really thriving. But yeah, absolutely. The expertise comes along with that, and isn't it much better to go with what works? Evidence-based, this has worked over and over again, let's go with that, as opposed to, maybe just trying to build something new.
Absolutely. And when we are juggling talent shortages, easier to have someone who is trained and move them into the position.
And we absolutely are juggling talent shortages. And that's a big part of what we're focusing on, helping our clients do more with less, because we know it's harder to get people, it's harder to keep people. So to be able to, provide a better experience for the people that you do have, and automate a lot of the kind of the low-end tasks, the low-value tasks, free those people up to do much higher, more fulfilling parts, more strategic, activities for your business.
So are there unique challenges or opportunities Australian businesses can take advantage of in the region?
What's unique to us, I think for the Australian market, there's nothing terribly unique. We're I guess the distance from the rest of the world is a little bit unique. Supply chain challenges aren't new to us, being so far away. But you know what? That's more about the culture than I see that the response isn't technology response, I don't think there. I think Australians are more resilient. They've got that challenger attitude, and we see some fantastic Australian businesses come onto NetSuite in a growth phase of their business and go global and really challenge. We've got some amazing customers. I was out with Jason last night from Speedmaster, who, Australian e-commerce automotive parts supplier with 2,000 SKUs, if you can believe it, being managed. And he's now based in the US and running a business that is multiple times the size it was when they joined with NetSuite, but still with the same core size of their staff, the same team. So driving huge efficiencies there. He's kind of wall-to-wall NetSuite now. But to answer your question, what's unique in the Australian marketplace, I think it's more just to do with the culture than anything about the technology. We are challengers, we're early adopters, we need to get things done now despite the challenges that we see. And that's, how good is that? I deal with a lot of customers. We're very lucky because, typically people start thinking about NetSuite when they're in that idea of like, can I scale this business? I'm going through some growth. So, the customers that we're working with are very exciting. It's an exciting time for them. It's an exciting time for us.
So how does NetSuite cater to the specific needs of companies in Australia and New Zealand? So I did notice that the product roadmap, they had Australian tax compliance, I believe.
That's right, yes.
With the integration, I think that was through Avalara.
Avalara, yeah. So for Australia, so a lot of our products are, almost all of them are localised for Australian use now. Compliance, tax, that sort of thing. Local language nuances.
So there's no Zs in there.
Yeah. Z, A and Z, it's A and Z, not A and Z. We have, again, a very healthy partner network, a partner ecosystem, both on solution providers as well as what we call our SDN partners, the technology partners that build applications on NetSuite. We have a bunch of phenomenally successful Australian partners that are localising things and building solutions that cater to the local market. We have a huge customer base and a very healthy partner network down in Australia and New Zealand. So,
do we have a few unicorns on NetSuite in Australia?
Do we have? We do. We actually do.
You don't need to name them.
Yeah, I don't know whether I can name them, but I was just thinking there, how many are there? I might be sharing too much because I don't think there's that many. But we do, yes.
That's very good. Very good. So we're day 2 of SuiteWorld 2023. What's been one big takeaway from you, for you from the conference?
Oh, look, I think I can't go past this AI. I know it's hyped. I struggle with it because of the hype factor. But then I'm just thinking the practicalities of it. I mean, imagine interacting with the screen, the NetSuite screen, and it's typing in all the content that you don't really want to type, but you have to. And it's suggesting, the right products at the right time, the right place, and helping you make really actionable providing you insights that are very actionable in that same screen. I'm thinking, how is this going to impact our customer? I just can't wait to get it. I can't wait to see the adoption of that and what that means for NetSuite customers around the world. 37,000 customers are going to get access to just be doing things so much easier, faster, with less, errors than ever before. So what is the benefit there? It's a bit mind-blowing. Yeah,
it is mind-blowing. And customers who are curious and who experiment with it their velocity of ahead of other people will just be amazing.
That's right, yeah.
Compared to, like someone was saying that he can see updating 30,000 SKUs in 10 minutes.
Wow.
With it, and it's like,
isn't that crazy?
Using ChatGPT, using the GPT, within it.
Yeah, it's Cohere. We're partnering with Cohere, but it is generative AI, so it is generating content for you based off, the training that it's had, but it and learning from your account. So. I mean, I just can't wait to hear the benefits of what people are doing with this. I mean, that one that you just told me, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is they can do it that way, but then they could put it into Mexican and into Spanish and into Italian.
Yep.
And they're going multi-country, multi-language. It's
incredible,
phenomenal.
Isn't it? It's just, and so, that's the most exciting thing for me. But I got to sit down and think about this. The stories that we will hear in a year's time of how people are using that to drive efficiencies through their business, I just can't wait to hear them.
Yeah, it will be exciting. And
it's a good reason to get on NetSuite, I think,
So thank you so much for joining us on the Cloud Stories podcast. Really enjoyed talking with you. How can our listeners get in contact with you or get in contact with the NetSuite team in Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, it's really as simple as hit our website, www.netsuite.com. When you do that from Australia, it'll put an AU somewhere. When you do that from New Zealand, it'll get you to the right people. We have a big team in Australia, so you hit the website, have a look, take a product tour, get someone, reach out to us on any of the methods. We will be in touch with you very quickly. No strings attached. If you just want to find out a little bit more about the solution, get a product demo, even if you're thinking about for next year or a couple of years' time, or what if I decide this business that I'm going after is going to go big. I just want to know how, what I should be thinking about now, so when the time comes, I can go through this in a smooth process and, worry about my business and not about my IT.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
I hope you like listening to that interview with Scott Wiltshire, Vice President and General Manager of Oracle NetSuite Australia and New Zealand. It seems that there is an enticing opportunity for partners working in the SME space to move into larger scale consulting in the ERP space. From speaking with people at the conference, it seems, as you'd expect, ongoing training in a solution of this size is essential. Many commented how they'd stumbled over existing functionality on a daily basis. It's a huge solution, so working with specialist consultants who can assist with implementation and provide ongoing training would optimize your experience with NetSuite. I think there's also an opportunity for apps sitting comfortably within the Intuit and Xero world to explore the NetSuite ecosystem opportunity. In this episode, I'm bringing you an interview with Don McLean, CEO of PKF Digital. PKF Digital is a leading NetSuite solution provider based out of Sydney, Australia. They are a team of experienced consultants, developers, and support specialists who work with businesses of all sizes to help them make the most out of NetSuite and other cloud-based technologies. We had just attended a keynote entitled Suit Up, delivered by NetSuite founder and EVP Evan Goldberg. It's truly amazing that he founded the company, has stayed there in the role for 25 years. His talk was quite personable. He raced on the stage without a suit, and then a lady rushed onto the stage with a suit, which gave him the opportunity to suit up in front of us. So every so often he would be delivering, as he was delivering his talk, he broke out in a fast-talking used car salesman type rap and encouraged the audience to take advantage of special deals on offer. As he did this, a waving inflatable tube man appeared on stage. So it was quite jarring from a man in a suit talking about cloud ERP solution to this used car salesman sign of lingo. It was quite amusing. I found it personally quite amusing. So over to the podcast. There's a little bit of background noise, but I don't think you'll find it too distracting. And before I pass across to the interview with Don McLean, CEO of PKF Digital, can I encourage you to stay up to date with the curated content I'm sharing by signing up for the Accounting Apps newsletter available at heathersmithau.com.
Hello, welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast. I'm very excited to be here with Don McLean, CEO of PKF Digital. Don, thank you for joining us. Really looking forward to speaking with you today. Can you share with us who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing here today at Sweet World?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me onto your podcast. Heather, thank you. That's really cool to be here. Despite my accent, I'm from Sydney in Australia, originally from Scotland. I've lived in Sydney for 26 years now. And so we've been, and the reason for me being here is clearly to come to Sweet World, understand a bit more about the strategy, and really celebrate the last 25 years, of which I've been involved with NetSuite on and off for about 20 years of that. So it's really great to see some of the people that I haven't seen for a while and reacquaint myself and do a bit of networking as well. So,
when was your last one?
The last Sweet World, last year.
Okay.
And that was the first one after the pandemic, so I think there wasn't one for 2 or 3 years prior to that. So it's been good, and it's been a great energy. In fact, somebody was telling me earlier that there's more people here than there ever has been, and the energy in the room at the keynote was just fantastic. It was phenomenal. And it's great to see all the artificial intelligence stuff coming through as well, you know. It seems to be the topic de rigueur these days, but yeah, it's really cool to see it actually be practical as well, rather than just ChatGPT. So it's good.
Yeah, ChatGPT, which is just a sort of component of artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. And a lot of people sort of think that is artificial intelligence, but as I'm sure you know, it's not. It's just one component.
Yes, I'm sure our audience knows, because we drill it into them many times, and it has artificial intelligence has been around for decades now.
Sure.
We just keep evolving and evolving and evolving. It's very exciting where it's going.
It is.
So can you elaborate on your belief that technology should assist in delivering business results?
Geez, that's a big question. I think it's really straightforward. I think sometimes in the technology game, and in the industry that I've been in for 30 odd years, we complicate things. We give them 3-letter abbreviations. And it becomes something that's a bit more difficult to understand. And it's not. It's really quite simple. I believe it's just about productivity. That's all it is about. It's about how can I take a number of systems and simplify them. And by systems, I mean both technology as well as business processes, or a system that you could do that's maybe been done manually, maybe been done using paper rather than actual technology. And that's what it's all about. It hasn't really changed in the last 20 odd years. It's really about how can I just take that technology and make people's jobs a bit more interesting. And particularly these days, it's really difficult to get good people. And so isn't it a much better idea to try and automate some processes using technology, and let those people rise and do something a bit more interesting. So it's not even about people losing jobs. I believe that era is over. It's really about how do you help them do more.
It is interesting. We are in Las Vegas and wandering around. Even the stores here have got please be kind, we're short-staffed, things are going to take a little bit longer, and I'm finding that sort of wherever you are in the world, that seems to be the case.
For sure.
So that is perhaps the automation and technology can save us with that. So you launched NetSuite into the Australasian marketplace in September 2003, as you've told us.
September 2003 makes me feel old. I mean, it wasn't just me. It was a number of people. I just was privileged to be involved in the company that did it. And I think I was the one survivor rather than anything else to tell the story as others went elsewhere. But, I mean, what a journey. It's just been phenomenal. And I think the one thing that we did, and I was involved with my brother, would you believe, who actually worked for Oracle just before he did that. And I was from a telecoms background, so I worked for British Telecom for many years. And in between drinks at the pub or games of golf, we would get to talk about what we thought was the future for technology. And with my telecoms background, you could see, even in those days, the way that the bandwidth was going to expand, that the internet was going to take off. And with his sort of like knowledge of software, and it was really about that convergence. So we started talking about what would it look like. And then he found this company called NetLedger in his travels over to San Francisco, and managed to bring that over to Australia. And so we, just got started.
So it was you and your brother who did it? Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's other people as well, clearly. But it was that connection with Oracle and that connection with telecoms that really sort of gelled. And as somebody once said to me, he said, like, the definition of a pioneer is somebody who does something for about 10 years and then spends the next 10 years trying to make the money back that they lost in the first 10 years, foregoing salaries and stuff. So, but it was, it's been a great trip. There's been many ups and downs. There's been, it was funny at the keynote earlier today, and there was the familiar noise that we all had 20 odd years ago, the sound of a modem connecting and the sort of like, the dashes going onto the Windows, I don't know, be Windows 95 or something like that. So it was those days. So it was really strange trying to persuade somebody to move all their data from the cupboard at the end of the office into what we now know as cloud, but then it was an ASP or something. And it was really, really difficult. It was difficult because people just didn't believe that it was secure. And it was only when we flipped it the other way around and said, why wouldn't you, that we actually started to get a bit of traction, because there's more security in a data center, eyeball scanning to be able to get in, and, your data's much more secure. But it was tough because we were trying to get people to do things that they didn't really want to do, but yeah, it really benefited them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So what convinced you that NetSuite is one of the best cloud technologies? And how does NetSuite enhance business productivity? So big question, but how do you talk to someone about that?
So to answer the first part of your question about why I believe NetSuite is best, and then I'll go on to the next bit.
And that is directly from your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. I do believe it's the best. And the reason, if you think the technology, as we used to talk about it ages ago, is really about a quite simple thing. To buy an Oracle database in those days would be measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And I think of that, if you've got the Oracle database as being the cake, if you will, right? Maybe there's no icing on top yet, but the cake. And it costs you that amount to buy the cake. And the whole concept of NetSuite, which was revolutionary in its day, was called multi-tenancy, which in effect meant that you weren't buying the whole cake. You were just buying a slice of that cake. But it was only the slice that you needed of that database with your data, and that cut costs tremendously. And NetSuite was certainly the first company to do that in the cloud in accounting. Salesforce had a similar type of technology, but that was really in the CRM space. And so once you had that and you had your data, that was number one. So that was great. So you're talking about it being cost efficient, if you will. The second part was really about the way that data was produced into the browser using dashboards. And again, that is de rigueur right now. Everybody's doing it, multiple ways of doing it, but it wasn't then. And then being able to just surface that data. So the conversation was always about one version of the truth, because you had data across every aspect of your business: inventory, accounts receivables, your customer data, and so on and so forth. And that hasn't changed. And then the third thing is the ability to tailor the system, add fields, use scripts, and so on and so forth. And then for the upgrades, and there was 2 every year, we'd actually not cause that programming or scripting to fail. That was revolutionary as well, because I think it's still the case. You have an implementation of an on-premise piece of accounting or ERP software, and you change it. When you go to the upgrade, you have to then go and rechange it again, so it costs you more money. So those are the 3 fundamental things, and they still are the case today, and it's really, really good, and it's proven. So 36,000 customers all on the same version of the software. Geez, that's like pretty phenomenal stuff.
Very
and the
good.
Second part of the question was about, just remind
how
me.
does NetSuite enhance business productivity?
Okay.
So how, if you're talking to a new potential client,
Sure.
what would you say to them?
It goes back to talking to the business, and what we do is we got a fairly unique way of doing that, where we start talking to them about where are the problems or the roadblocks that you've got, and we start digging into that to see how we could replace some of those roadblocks with either what they're doing with their existing system, or if we could enhance that by implementing technology. So in effect, we spend a few days going through all those business processes, but not just looking at improving them, actually finding out how much it's costing them. So let me give you an example. You could be talking to somebody about their accounts receivables, and their accounts receivables are sitting on average of, 25 days outstanding. I think days sales outstanding is one of the metrics. And of course, as soon as you start saying, okay, what would it look like if you could reduce that by 5 days by using particular technology, that only gets you so far. It's really about then, okay, but what does that mean to you in monetary terms? So if you can save 5 days here, therefore you're going to get your cash quicker, and what's the interest you can make on that cash, and so on and so forth, or what could you use to deploy that? So it's really spending time understanding those particular metrics, and then we put a report back to them as a consulting engagement, if you will, to say, here is where you will be able to save cost, but also increase value. And that's the fundamental thing about it. And all that comes down, again, is to productivity, right? That's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to make your people more productive without adding more people to the problem, right?
Absolutely. So can you elaborate? You're talking about sort of the consulting component of what you do there.
Sure.
Can you elaborate on the partnership between PKF and NetSuite and the relationship of then working with customers?
Sure. I mean, the relationship that we've had for many years is a good one. Great people, and there's a lot of people are within our business and within NetSuite business that we've known for literally decades. So there's that. The partner program that NetSuite have got, of which we participate in, provides a vast amount of resources. I mean, not only is the product pretty good in terms of some of the help systems it's got, but they also have a program for partners called Suite Life. Everything in NetSuite begins with Suite, and so Suite Life is almost like a way of life, in that you have a whole lot of different on-demand training, ways of helping us market, just a great raft of different things. And then in particular, so we're talking to somebody in a wholesale and distribution environment. There's a whole raft of different information that we can bring to bear across that value-added program that I talked about earlier, that allows us to really get down to the nitty-gritty. So we are, despite being part of a large organisation of about 1,000 people in Australia, our part of the business is only 20 people. So we don't have the resources to be able to create consulting engagements, but NetSuite give us that resource. And so we utilise a whole load of that and bring it to bear. And that's really where they help. So we're kind of like the tip of the iceberg, if you will, with everything underwater is NetSuite, with everything that's sort of there to help us to sustain the conversation with our customers.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So many of our listeners are sitting in the small business accounting world, and they're contemplating app stacks. By app stacks, I mean sort of smaller, plug-together solutions from lots of different areas.
Yeah, got it.
What are the triggers or indicators that they should start contemplating an ERP solution like NetSuite?
So most of your listeners are accounting or accountant related, and it's actually interesting because I believe that's exactly where it starts. Because so the triggers are there's twofold. If you, let's face it, my guess would be that most of your listeners will be using Xero, for instance, or if they're contemplating going to an ERP system, that's probably where they're starting. Xero is a phenomenal product, really, really good. But when you start having inventory, for instance, Xero doesn't really do inventory that well, and you're starting to then having to integrate. And then you've got an Excel spreadsheet maybe with your customers on to track sales or prospects or whatever. As soon as you start introducing those different, as you put it, the app stack, you introduce integration problems, as in you can't change the phone number in one system and it reflect everywhere. So that's one indication. NetSuite historically always referred to that as a hairball, which is a really good way of thinking of it, where you've got or maybe spaghetti is a better way of putting it, because you've got that physical integration that you're having to do, but there's all those islands of data everywhere. So that's one indication. And again, that goes back to productivity. If you're finding that you're having to type different things into different systems, or it takes you days, if not weeks, to get your reporting system. And then, of course, once you've done the reports, they're out of date by definition. So there's one indication. The other one that we use quite a lot now, and it talks to the growth of a company. When they start off, they tend to have maybe one instance of Xero. When you start adding more instances of Xero because you've got more companies or you've got more countries, that's a great example of when you should start looking for a bigger system. Because the consolidation that you have to do becomes really, really complicated. And I've seen some horrendous spreadsheets that we do for clients in the accounting side where there's like 32 tabs of different results trying to reconcile currencies and tax regimes and all the rest of it. And NetSuite and systems like it, they cope with that really, really well. All the elimination accounts, all the way of being able to slice and dice the data. So you could see across all of your companies just by product line exactly what's happening. So you can then diagnose problems or see surface information in different ways, and that's one sort of like benefit of having that whole system there as well.
So you really business is becoming complex, and you're looking to scale.
Yeah, absolutely, and those are just indicators of when you should be thinking there must be a better way to do this, because you want to get on with running your business. You don't want to be mucking around with spreadsheets. Well, some people do, but generally it's not a way of...
Accountants love their spreadsheets.
Well, they do, and it's interesting that one. Having just now working in an accounting thing, I walk into the office. Yes, I do walk into an office, and there's a lot of Excel spreadsheets around. That's not to say you have to stop using your Excel spreadsheets. That's not what I mean. So I would never take that away from them. But there's a better way of getting the information from an integrated system into the spreadsheet for you to do your analysis. But,
can you talk to the conversion process that they need to sort of start getting their head around?
Sure. So there's a number of things that you need to think about. The first one's data, and when you think about it, it's really all about data. And an accounting system is in effect a database that's just got some logic on top of it. So how much data do I want to take from my existing system, and where do I want to put that? And that sounds like it should be really easy, but it's not. Static data and what I would call dynamic data are very different. By static data, I'm thinking about customer records. So they're pretty much, the address, what the total sales were the last year, the year before. That's pretty standard and easy to take across. But the bit that you should really think about and quiz whoever you're talking to in implementing the system is about that dynamic data. What about the invoices? What about the sales orders? What about the quotes? And all that rich history that you've got, will you use it in the new system? If so, how will you use it? Is it okay, sorry to go back to it, is it okay to just keep it in Excel spreadsheets? Or is there some archive system that you can just keep? So that, because within the first year, you certainly want to do comparisons, for instance. So there's that, there's the data. The other thing that people forget about, and I think this is really, really important, it's not the technology, it's the change. It's changing from the way that I invoice a customer with a screen that looks like this to something that's going to be very different. And so there's a lot of training that we need to do. There's a lot of consulting and setup and those particular elements. But think about one of the things we start talking to executive of companies is about their digital maturity. So are the people in your organization digitally mature enough to be able to and want to cope with the next level of system? If that's a no, then what do we do to train them to get them to that particular point? And nobody really thinks about that. They really don't. But yet, that can be the difference between an ERP implementation failing or actually going successful.
Yeah, there's a lot of training.
And there are lots of other things that you have to do which are ticking boxes, but the technology, it tends to look after itself. It's the humans That's the ones. It's the humans we need to look after, right?
Yeah, a lot of training and a lot of ongoing training as well.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
Time a new module comes out or evolves and updates, and like the guy on the stage actually said, "I've been using it for a year, and every time I open it up, I find a new button or a new setting."
Yeah.
So
and that can be good and bad, though. I mean, it sounds really interesting. It's like opening a book and getting a new chapter that you never knew existed, or something like that. But I think that's where the likes of ourselves as partners come in, because it's our job to understand the customer and also understand the technology. So I always think of it as being, you've got one foot in the technology camp, you've got one foot in the business camp, and then you're able to then think about your clients. I mean, even as we're sitting in the keynote and you look at a particular function, at the back of your mind, well, this is me, maybe it's not everybody, I'm thinking, that would be really good for customer X. So you're mentally thinking and applying what is on a big screen in front of tens of thousands of people to the company that's in Adelaide that is making products, and how that will affect them. And I think that's the key.
Absolutely. Can you briefly share with us a case where NetSuite has improved client profits and efficiencies? Maybe if there's one that you can sort of...
Sure. There's a long-standing customer of ours over in Perth in Western Australia called Thermomix. I don't know if you're familiar with the Thermomix. It's how would you describe a Thermomix?
It's the machine that does all the cooking that you could possibly want.
That's the one, absolutely. And I don't have one myself.
Neither do I.
Yeah, well, there you go. But so Thermomix, for instance, they've been customers of ours for about 8 years. And when they first came to us, the real problem was they had a warehouse management system, they had an accounting system, and they had, I think it was a CRM system, all of which were different. So all of their customer database, and the customers, they were at the time selling direct, and they did it in such a way, it was almost like... it's like a party. So somebody who's the demonstrator chef comes along, and there's a party of 20 people and does a demonstration and then takes orders. So there was a big, huge sort of like need to go from that sales process right the way through to delivery, with inventory and shipping and distribution and warehouse management and all sorts of ancillary goods. It's a very, very complicated process. And we moved them within 9 months to NetSuite, and the productivity gains that they got were phenomenal. I think they were growing at the time about 25% sort of year on year, which sustained it. But we didn't help them grow by 25% year on year per se. What we did is we made sure that they could do that and be profitable and not have to recruit more people, so they would keep the costs, like the fixed costs, if you will, constant, but grow revenue and increase profits. I think that's a great example, and that's one of many that we've got.
And it allows them, they can sort of relax and scale.
I'm not sure they would say they would relax, but they're certainly a bit more. Well, they can sleep at night. I think it's that.
Night, not stress about their systems.
Yeah, exactly.
And scale.
And then they can think about what more they can do, because sometimes these systems can be a bit of a competitive advantage, because if you're going to make sure that you're going to deliver on time, and then your customer satisfaction is going to go up, you put your customer satisfaction up, you get loyalty. Loyalty means that people are going to talk about it.
Oh, people do. They talk about it.
They do. Thermomix is almost like a form of religion, right? My business partner's got one, and he wouldn't do without it. It's like,
They do talk about it. So what's one thing that you've learned from attending SuiteWorld today?
I have learnt, I've been really interested in the AI stuff that's happening. And as we talked earlier, there's a lot of hype around it. And I was in a session, it was following on from the keynote, there was in a session today which was talking about specifically what NetSuite's doing around that. So first of all, I learned that there's a key team of 20 people that's just been formed within NetSuite to tap into everything else in Oracle, and they're going to increase that in 3 months to 100 people. So it's a fairly significant sort of like step up in investment in AI. And it's not, there is an element of the chat GPT, but the real key to this and some of the things that they were showing us is how you can apply it to help. Again, goes back to productivity, right? They were given an example of how you can get it to amalgamate a whole load of different fields to write a product description that can automatically go into a website. And if you're implementing a system that's got 60,000 products, that's a big job. And if you can get somebody like an AI to set it off to do it and get that AI sort of like chat GPT-like thing to do it within the product, with no additional charge, so I'm insured. And that's just one example of many that they're trying to do. Then you start seeing things like all the data that's there with the proactive or preemptive. It's like one example that was given was about cash. My sales are down. What's the effect on cash? And then it's almost like going through a scenario analysis to say, okay, what if I did this? What if I discounted the product by that amount? What's it likely to do based on all the history and the richness that you've got, and sometimes external information, the classic ice cream vendor that's going to sell more ice cream on a hot day rather than in the middle of winter, and taking all that. So it's the practical elements of that make it easy because it's put into the product for us all to use. So we don't need to reinvent that. That is the one key learning I've taken from the last couple of days.
Should be very exciting. I think what piqued my interest was the benchmarking solution that they were talking about, and saying how not only would it benchmark, not only would it compare you to your competitors, but using anonymized aggregated data.
That's right.
But it would surface suggestions of how your competitors were improving their productivity, and perhaps you should be doing this way too.
I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, that's really cool.
And that to me, again, I hate to go back to that's productivity. That's taking something and letting the digital technology help your business, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you so much, Don, for joining me on the Cloud Stories podcast. How can our listeners get in contact with you?
Well, thank you for having me. They can get in touch with me quite easily via email, don.mclean, M-C-L-E for elephant, A for apple, N for Nora, just in case my accent gets in the way there, at pkf.com.au.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today, I'm sharing my third interview from the NetSuite conference. I speak with a consultant who works in the bridal gown business who uses NetSuite. During the Suite World 2023, I had the opportunity to speak with a number of businesses, CFOs, CTOs who were using NetSuite in the business they worked in. They were all gushing with praise for the solution and keen to tell me what a successful business they had. I think speaking with someone working within the business complements the other interviews I've already shared with you. So today, Sarah Reinier, Global Systems Manager of Grace Loves Lace, joins me and we discuss how NetSuite helped Grace Loves Lace scale their operations as they expanded to multiple stores in different countries through features like OneWorld for multi-subsidiary and multi-currency functionality. Their use of NetSuite features like WMS, dashboards, and manufacturing routing help, which help them effectively manage inventory, track custom dress orders, and monitor the dress production process. And how they started with the core NetSuite financials and then added on modules, helping Grace Loves Lace implement NetSuite successfully while staying within the NetSuite way of doing things. I was kindly hosted by Oracle and attended Oracle's NetSuite's largest annual gathering of the NetSuite community at their flagship conference, Suite World 2023.
Hello, Sarah. Welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast. Very excited to have you here.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and recording a podcast with you.
So can I ask you to share with our listeners who you are, what you do, and where you're from?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Sarah Ringer. I'm from the Gold Coast in Australia. I currently work with Grace Loves Lace, and I'm a consultant throughout the NetSuite ecosystem and have been for over 10 years now. We're in a very happy marriage.
Sensational. So for our Cloud Story regular listeners, you'll know that I'm originally from the Gold Coast, living actually very close to where the store is located. So I grew up in Mermaid Waters, which is...
perfect. Come for a coffee.
a hop, skip and jump away from where you're actually based, which is in the Gold Coast, but it's at Burleigh Heads.
Yeah, Burleigh Heads, yeah.
It's about 10 minutes probably drive away.
Yeah.
So can you share the story behind Grace Loves Lace? Tell us what the business is and what's the story behind the evolution of Grace Loves Lace.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were founded in Burleigh Heads from our beautiful founder Meg, and she was actually shopping for her own wedding dress and really found that there was a gap in the market for what she wanted, which was luxury bridal, boho, and without all the structure and the boning. So she wanted this beautiful showroom experience where she felt a really personalised journey, and also the types of dresses offered rather than the ball gown type. She really wanted a slip-on and feel great, dance the night away kind of gown. So she created it.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. And Burleigh Heads is a very hip and trendy area, isn't it? So it's natural for a dress shop, bridal dress shop, to actually be born from that area.
Absolutely. I mean, you usually find bridal shops in the major cities, but she stayed true to her roots and started in Burleigh Heads. It's a beautiful showroom. And it's very close, Southern Gold Coast is very close to Byron Bay. So there's a lot of the boho feel as well as the luxury.
Absolutely. So how did the brand go about gaining its global recognition?
I think just because the dresses are so different, they're like I said, there's no boning, there's no structure. Our marketing team, of course, do an absolute amazing job, but the dresses tend to speak for themselves, and we have such a big following on Pinterest. Our brides pin dresses of all sorts of dresses for years and years before their beautiful day, and we actually have the #1 pinned dress in the world.
Oh, okay. So you have the #1 Pinterest in wedding dresses, or just in the Pinterest in general?
Wedding dresses, yeah.
Oh, in wedding dresses.
Wedding dress category.
Oh, sensational. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal achievement. I'm not in the Pinterest world, so I was unaware of that in my research of your company and your organisation. So how did you decide that NetSuite was the right fit for Grace Loves Lace?
Well, at Grace, when they went on to NetSuite, I wasn't with the company at that point, but like most businesses, they're really looking at scaling and having a consolidated platform is absolutely critical for that, especially manufacturing. So Grace Loves Lace manufactures all of their gowns in Burleigh in our factory. So to have an end-to-end solution as opposed to 3 or 4 different solutions to handle the finances, the inventory, the supply and demand planning, and then the manufacturing of the dresses. We went from being able to hand make the dresses, passing around paper, to having to get a lot more sophisticated. So just a few years ago, we, in COVID no less, we doubled our showrooms by 11 in 12 months. And survived, all of us, and doubled our workforce in that time. And NetSuite helped us scale considerably because we had that in place as opposed to several different systems and Excel worksheets.
Wow, that's very impressive. So you're manufacturing the clothes in Burleigh Heads?
Yep.
That's really impressive. It's always... Look, Australia is not a country that naturally manufactures anything, so
That's
it's
right.
always exciting to hear something actually being manufactured locally. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. It makes us very brand proud, and anyone that sees our factory, our production studio in Burleigh Heads, it's separate to our head office, is always very impressed because there's a lot of love literally that gets touched with every dress right into our dispatch team.
Mm-hmm. So you weren't involved in the actual implementation of NetSuite, I believe, at Grace Loves Lace. I think that's what you were saying to me.
Yeah.
But you are familiar with implementing NetSuite, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. I've done several implementations, and in fact, I have a finance background myself. I was acting finance manager for a particular service subscription-based company, and that was my first implementation and introduction to NetSuite. And with fresh eyes, as a brand new implementation, again, going from the standard several solutions and rolling it into one, and a bit biased, but having that finance background, I can categorically say you need to start the bones from the finances.
Yeah. Well, as an accountant, I'd agree as well.
Not that a little bit biased, but I've seen it done another way. Again, I came in for a bit of a rescue mission post-implementation, and it was clear that finance was not the backbone of the architecture, and therefore the report outputting was absolutely horrendous. So really, really critical.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, and it's interesting because NetSuite has a lot of components, and we're here at Suite World 2023, has a lot of components. We're seeing a lot of demonstrations about how they can be used and how you can re-engage customers and re-engage them. But hopefully you're not re-engaging customers at your company, because hopefully the wedding is lasting forever.
Exactly. Customer retention is not our goal. We hope to kindly not see you again, or we'd love to see your friends and families, sure. But yeah, we always are sourcing new brides into our Grace family.
Such a challenge for the wedding industry.
Yeah, so our marketing team is amazing, especially with the current challenges around cookies and all of that business and what's going on in that market. So they're always up on challenges and algorithm changes to reach out to our brides and track them.
Yeah, absolutely. So what features of NetSuite do you use, do you leverage, and what are they most beneficial for Grace Loves Lace operations?
Like you said, Heather, there are a lot of components, a lot of add-ons, a lot of modules, a lot of suite apps and SDNs. Starting with the very basics, the core product is actually brilliant. So that's where we started, and I'm a big advocate in getting to know the NetSuite way and staying within the NetSuite box, not putting a square peg into a round hole, so not trying to make NetSuite do what your old system did. You're moving away from that for a reason, a very good reason usually. Learn the NetSuite way. It's very intuitive when you do, and don't over-customize it, because particularly with the bones of the finances and all of the finance functions, the CRM functions that come standard, and even the basic inventory, really work well together and do all the right things. And then when you start adding modules, so being a manufacturer, we have WMS, the manufacturing and warehouse management, and critical to making the dress, we have the whip and routings feature, which not a lot of people have installed, but it allows us to track exactly where your dress is at in every step of the way. So whether that's creating your pattern or cutting the material for your dress, or if it's with a sewer, except we can track every step of that dress.
Wow.
Through whip and routings.
Are you suggesting, and I'm completely ignorant of wedding dresses, that each one's bespoke?
Yep.
Wow.
We do have ready to wear and customized standard gowns that we have that are a full size. So if you're a small all over, a medium, etc. But one of our core parts of our business is customized gowns. So we take your measurements and we size it to your range. So you may be a medium based on your measurement range on top, and you may be a large on the bottom, and we'll make your dress for you. And you might be a little shorter, so we take it up a few inches. And every gown is QC'd, and we set up the mannequins to actually put your dress on to your measurements and know how your dress is fitting. So
being an Australian-based business, you are navigating Australian tax. And are you running all of that through your NetSuite solution as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the One World solution, which is a multi-subsidiary, multi-currency, because we have stores, we operate all over the world, deliver to 180 countries, but we have a subsidiary structure that allows us to transact in the different countries, particularly where we have stores, so in the UK, Canada, and very much in the US, as well as, of course, Australia. And so we're able to settle and control our money in those regions and bring it down when the FX rate is great. But at the same time, using One World, we can consolidate and see where we're sitting in the core currency, which for us is Australian dollars.
And you're reporting, I presume, BAS. and those sorts of things too.
Yeah, absolutely.
A solution.
Tax compliant, always in audit, depending on the country.
Yeah.
Our finance team. Yep.
Yeah. No, it's good to know that because people are listening in thinking, okay, am I doing that in the solution as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything is flowing through the solution. So what are the unique challenges facing a business in the bridal or the wedding industry? Now, don't say Bridezilla.
No. Well, we rarely have bridezillas, and I'm not
Wonderful.
just saying that. We do have a beautiful grace experience, and our biggest thing, lending on Meg's experience, was we have a very tailored and very personalised customer journey, and we take it very, very seriously. So you're not just another number for us, but I think one of the biggest challenges in the bridal and frankly in the retail industry is the changing of GA4. It's the tracking, it's the cookies. So particularly if you're sourcing new clients like we are, and so we don't have subscriptions and reviews and all of these loyalty programs to lend on, that's definitely an issue. And I think currently people are spending on travel in a post-COVID world. They bought all of our dresses in COVID, so it's the year of the wedding, but not the wedding dress, so to speak. It's the year of travel and weddings, of wearing the gowns. So we're just coming out of that and really seeing that change now. But that's been a very interesting trend of the last, say, year and a half.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm just thinking, my son got engaged 6 months ago, and no wedding is planned,
Yep.
but lots and lots of travel is planned and booked in place. So,
yeah, definitely.
So he's following your trend.
Yeah, but we're very grateful the supply chain has leveraged that. I know everybody in retail, had supply chain issues sometimes with shipping, either inbound or outbound.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're here at Sweet World. What's something that you've come across that you're going to take away with you and implement when you get back? I know you've been very busy.
Well, there's several. There's a lot of tracks, some of the admin tracks, and again, going back to basics, even one that I spoke in, we lent on applicable basics of, again, working within the system, getting to know NetSuite, knowing when to customize it, and also when to really drive operationally its features like the dashboards, just being biased because that was my session, but also a lot of the new features like the being able to have AP capture, the bill capture module on its own now, particularly in Australia where the module it was paired with wasn't quite ready for us yet.
Yep.
But the bill capture was. It's great to be able to have that for our AP people.
Excellent. So you ran a session yesterday. Can you give us a brief synopsis of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really did a deep dive into dashboards, and try as I might, I led with making them cool again. Everyone talks about dashboards, and particularly in controller situations, executives, a lot of people are focused on that, which is great. They need the KPIs and the metrics and all the figures, and that's fun. But I and my partners spoke to that. I really spoke about how you can use dashboards operationally to break down the department silos and follow the order process, build your customer journey, just as architecturally as a system architect, build your customer journey in NetSuite on dashboards. So, for example, when a sales order comes in from Shopify, we have it defaulting particular things like custom fields and status. Now, once one department checks that order, they change the status, it falls off their dashboard, it goes immediately to the production dashboard. Once they've built the dress and followed that along, and you can use highlighting to know, hey, this wedding date is coming up. It's very important to us to deliver well ahead of time, right through to dispatch. So it's not just about metrics, it's usable things and adding exception tallies and stuff onto those dashboards. I've even built a knowledge base within NetSuite. So whilst NetSuite Help is great, there's usually customizations and things to your business, and some people in the business won't go and search for help. They want it really in front of their face. So I build a custom tab and custom links to our own knowledge base where they can access, and that helps with onboarding. So a lot of operational stuff like that that you can use, making dashboards cool. Even color coding. I'm a big one for making it fun. The navigation portlet, for example, it looks very sophisticated out of the box, but you can go and change those icons to anything, being on brand. I've changed them to Avengers characters, to holiday characters, just to make it really, really engaging. So as an administrator, you can have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, no, I fully encourage embracing fun while at work. For our accountants and bookkeepers who are listening in here who are potentially contemplating becoming an integrator like yourself, what would you suggest they start exploring? Where should they start looking? I think you organise a meetup on the Gold Coast, is that right?
Yes, I've just started a user group. We have a great user group in Brisbane, and it's really, really great meetup, and I'm just starting one in the Gold Coast, and obviously everyone's welcome from Brisbane and Gold Coast interchangeably. They'll both have very different feels about them, but I'm a big one for knowledge sharing. We're all here. NetSuite is a beast in all the good ways, and I don't think there's one person on this planet who would know everything about NetSuite, and there is so much knowledge that can be shared, inside of these sort of Suite World and Suite Connect worlds, but also from a daily basis. So I think it's really important that we can just network and share and go, hey, did you know this was a thing? Oh, great, let me show you how, and just help each other out.
And how do they tap into that?
So there's a LinkedIn group, so you can go to my LinkedIn profile, Sarah Ringer. Thanks to my Dutch heritage, there's only one of me. And there's a link to the group there, to the Gold Coast NetSuite user group.
Okay, sensational. So for our listeners who are listening in, there is a user group in the Gold Coast and in Brisbane, but I'm sure there's probably user groups in your location as well, but worth joining the LinkedIn group because that's online and doesn't matter where you are. So
yeah, absolutely. On LinkedIn, there is a NetSuite user group, simply named, and that is everyone globally seems to jump on there, and there's a lot of information shared there.
Fantastic.
Whereas the more localised group, we share what events are coming up and things like that.
Yeah, no, it's always useful to do that. Look, another question. There has been a lot of talk about AI at the conference, and they're going to be using Cohere to have generative text within the platform. Have you envisaged how that will help you?
I think AI has been a big question mark for all of us, particularly us old hacks at NetSuite, and wondering which direction NetSuite would go with that as part of their core product. Are they going to focus on manufacturing, on analytics? Analytics is an obvious one because it's already happening within their analytics systems. So it's quite interesting to see things like the bill capture pop up, and I'd like to see where it's all emerging to. So it's great to be able to attend those sessions and see where it's headed.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to finding out next year how you use them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's very exciting and very new. So, how can our listeners... Thank you so much for speaking to us on the Cloud Stories podcast. How can our listeners get in contact with you? You have mentioned your LinkedIn profile. Is that the best place to find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Heather. It's been lovely. LinkedIn, definitely, Sarah Ringer, or you can email sarah@opalsuitesolutions.com.
Awesome. And how can they find Grace Loves Lace?
Oh, we're everywhere.
Everywhere.
I've definitely checked out the Instagram's beautiful
and Pinterest.
Feed. Yep. Pinterest, Facebook, we're everywhere, but Instagram's a great way.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thanks, Heather.
I hope you liked listening to that interview with Sarah Ringer. I came across a quote today. Measure life, not in dollars, but in conversations. Which seems very fitting for a podcaster who shares stories from our community. I was, as I have mentioned, kindly hosted by Oracle and attended the Oracle's NetSuite's largest annual gathering of their community at the flagship conference Suite World 2023 in Las Vegas. The Oracle team coordinated the interviews for me, and I think each angle gives you a well-rounded look at NetSuite in Australia and New Zealand. My understanding is that Oracle NetSuite do run regional roadshows, so if the ERP world piques your interest, attending an in-person event is likely to be able to answer a lot of questions for you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. I thought by wrapping it all up and putting everything together, it might make it easier to listen to. I want to mention again that I was kindly hosted by NetSuite Oracle to attend their conference, and I also work with the team at Fathom and the team at Translucent, who I did mention there. So I encourage you to subscribe and leave a 5-star review for the Cloud Stories podcast so other people can find the podcast. And from here, I suggest you connect with me on LinkedIn. Subscribe to the Informative Accounting Apps newsletter, which gives you a great overview of the ecosystem space. It's available at heathersmithau.com. I'm Heather Smith, and you've been listening to the Cloud Stories podcast.